If you know exactly what you want to say, you know exactly what you want to do, but you keep hesitating because you don't want to deal with someone else's reaction, then girl, this video is for you. Hello, my name is Robin May, and I am so glad that you are here. If this is your first time here, girl, welcome. I hope we become fast friends. If you've been here before, welcome back. And you already know how we roll. Let our new friends know what to do. Put you on some fuzzy socks, get you a journal, find something good to drink because we are about to go there. Listen, if you get at least one aha, one takeaway, will you subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, share it, and if you're real froggy, do all three. When you do that, it helps to move this video and videos like it up the algorithm. Why is that important? Because we need women just like you who are wanting to elevate not just what they do, but who they are to find the channel. When we talk about elevating, we're not talking about putting more pressure on ourselves or overworking. What we are talking about is elevating outside of toxic mindsets and patterns that have kept us stuck. And this conversation we're having today is right in alignment with that. Now, if you're new here, I got to tell you, I keep notes in front of me so that I'm not chasing butterflies. Because, see, I'll start telling you about what happened when I was 5, what happened when I was 13, and we want to stay focused. And so I have notes in front of me. So today we are talking about, you know what you want, you just don't want to deal with the emotional consequences. You know what you want. You don't want to deal with the emotional fallout. Let's dive into this conversation. When I am working with the women, what I often find is they will tell me what they want. They are pretty clear about what they want to do or what they no longer want to do, but they often follow it up by saying something like, Robin, I don't want to do that anymore, but I don't want them to be upset about it. Robin, I want to do this, but I don't want them to feel some kind of way. And what that is communicating is I know what I want, but I also want to control somebody else's response to what I want. And because I cannot control someone else's response to what I want, I either stay stuck or I feel guilty. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. I want to help you understand how to get out of that pattern of not only trying to dictate or determine what somebody else's response is, I want to help you understand what's happening internally for you. Now, I have called this or framed this the emotional consequence framework because sometimes when we hear things like this, it helps us to have an idea of what we're talking about. The emotional consequence framework. And basically, this isn't about you being selfish. That's not what this is at all. What it is recognizing when your decision making is being driven by a fear of emotional consequences instead of your conscious choice. Can I give it to you again? The emotional consequence framework really explains or helps you to understand when when you're making a decision, is it being driven by fear of emotional consequences or is it by being driven by your conscious choice? Hear me, friend, you're not unclear. You're trying to acknowledge what you want and trying to control how somebody is going to respond to it. And that's why you keep getting stuck. That tension between telling the truth and protecting someone else's feelings is what has you stuck. And friend, I know already you are ready to turn this video off, but just stick with me because I have been there as well. But I got to go even further. I got to tell you this part. I really want you to sit with this. Often, this isn't even about somebody else demanding anything from you, demanding anything of you. It is because you might very well accurately be discerning that they are going to be disappointed, frustrated, sad, upset, whatever it is, and you are having a hard time tolerating what you are anticipating they are going to feel from your decision. Somebody say amen. Somebody go ahead and say amen, Robin. You are right there. At some point, friend, that becomes your work. That becomes your work to see if you are being held hostage by your very accurate or very likely to be accurate thought of what they are going to feel. Sometimes you may completely be missing it, but you know your people. You know what they might respond or what they want because they probably have told you, I don't want you to do this. I want you to do that. And you are assuming that that's a demand from them. And even if it is, are you dictated and governed by the demands of others? All right, I want to give you a few examples. Okay, so let's look at a woman that is married, and she might say something like, my husband wants us to go to his mother's house for the weekend, and I really don't want to do that, but I don't want my husband to be mad at me. She knows what she wants, but she's not sure if she wants to pay the emotional price of what will happen if he's upset. Now, we're not talking about abuse. You are just not wanting your spouse to be upset with you. You want to be able to tell your spouse, I don't want to go to your mother's house, and your spouse not have any emotional reaction to it or not be upset with you about it. So you stay quiet, you agree to go, and then you feel resentful later. Okay, stick with me because this is going to take a turn that you may not expect. Let's give an example of a friendship. Let's say a friend who knows she no longer has the capacity to show up for her friend the same way she had been showing up, but she doesn't want her friend to be disappointed in her because the truth is, if this is that friend, or if that's you, you don't want to be the person seen as the bad one, or the one who doesn't show up. So you keep doing what you know you no longer have the capacity for. Did I not tell you that this conversation can be a game changer for you? And this takes maturity. It's really hard to pause and pay attention to ourselves in this way. It's really hard to pause and look at what I'm doing and why I am doing it. Let me give you another example. This is for my busybodies. Those of us who stay at work, stay at church, stay with the family, and we know that we might need to step down from a role or step back from a commitment or a responsibility, but you don't want people to be disappointed. So everyone else gets consistency and you get burnt out. I know. I know. I done come down your street. I done come down your street, but I want you to know I have your back. I am here to help you understand what's going on inside of you. I'm here to help you understand what you may not be saying to yourself so that you can get the freedom that you really deserve. That's your birthright in Christ. I want you to be free, but it's going to require you slowing your life down long enough, paying attention to why you do what you do. You know what you want. You know what you want to do or what you want to say. You're just not quite sure that you can handle the emotional consequence or the emotional fallout from it. And at some point, you have to decide whether you want to pay the emotional price that you'll have to pay. You'll have to decide that for yourself. Okay, I like to liken this to taking medicine. You know how you can look at some medicine and it'll say, these medicines work best on an empty stomach, or they'll say this medicine works best after you've eaten a meal, or the medicine will give you some side effects. Listen, I know that you've been having this issue, and this medicine will address this issue, but you might have these side effects. You have to decide, can I tolerate what's happening if my friend is upset, if my husband is disappointed? Can I tolerate that? Can I handle it? Can I let my person sit with that disappointment? Can I tolerate that? Or am I willing to deal with the side effects? It is the same thing that happens in your relationships. It's the same thing that happens with your children. It's the same things that happen at work. You have to decide if expressing what you want and what you desire matters enough for you to be able to tolerate. We're not even talking about them. We're not talking about your husband's disappointment or your child's disappointment or your boss's disappointment. I am asking you, can you deal with the fact that they might be disappointed? Is it okay for somebody to be disappointed or upset or frustrated because you made a decision that may not work for them, but it works for you? Now, remember, I told you that this might be taking a turn, right? But I want to tell you this first. Nobody can decide this for you. But if you're constantly the one that's compromising, not because somebody else is demanding it, but because you can't tolerate their disappointment, it's no longer about them, sis. This is about you building your emotional resilience. Hey, friend, let me pause us here just for a moment. Because when I say something about emotional resilience, I want you to be very clear about what I mean and what I don't. I've poured a lot of this kind of work into a resource called Elevate Your Life in 30 Days. It's a daily experience designed to help you respond to your life instead of bracing for it. And since we're talking about emotional resilience, not as toughness, but from a rooted place, I wanted you to hear a short snippet from day 26, where I reclaim what resilience actually is. Listen to this, and then we'll get right back to the conversation. See, today we're talking about resilience, but I want you to take a deep breath because we're not talking about it the way it's usually presented. If we're honest, for many women, the word resilience has started to feel frustrating, even heavy. See, it can sound like this unspoken expectation that women should just keep taking all the hard things. We should keep adjusting, keep enduring, keep bouncing back, no matter how many times life hits. And somewhere deep down, there's a quiet resentment that says, why do I always have to be the strong one? Why does it feel like I'm constantly being asked to absorb more? So let's name this right away without any guilt. You are not wrong for feeling weary of resilience being framed as endless toughness. But as my grandmother used to say, we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We don't want to reject resilience altogether just because it's been misused. Girl, we're going to reclaim it because resilience, real resilience, was never meant to mean you live on guard, braced for impact, or resigned to a difficult, hard life. Here is how we're going to reframe it. Resilience isn't just toughness, it's flexibility. It's not gritting your teeth and pushing through no matter the cost. It's not pretending you're okay when you're not. It's not emotional suppression dressed up as strength. Biblical resilience is something deeper. It's the assurance that even when life does what life does, God is with you. It's knowing that storms may rage, but you can be hidden in the shelter of his arms. It's believing that while circumstances shift, God doesn't. Resilience is not about being hit over and over and learning to tolerate pain. It is about knowing how to stay present with yourself when discomfort shows up without abandoning your faith or without abandoning you. If that resonated with you, the link to Elevate Your Life in 30 Days is in the description. Now, let's keep going. Okay, now when I talk about emotional resilience, I'm talking about you figuring out if what you are wanting or what you're wanting to do, if it's worth the price you have to pay for it emotionally. That person may be upset, they may be disappointed, they may be frustrated, but can you handle that? Whatever they're feeling, can you handle that? Or do you find yourself changing what you want so that somebody else isn't upset? Now, remember, I told you this is going to take a turn because I might go somewhere you didn't expect. When we talk about this emotional consequence framework, I want you to consider this. This does not mean that you never compromise. This whole idea of choosing myself, this whole self care movement, this whole my boundaries, my boundaries, my boundaries movement has often been presented in a way that's rooted in selfishness, not self care. Because many times when things begin to be trendy, they are taken in a way and distorted. Because life is not about just doing what matters to you. Life is not just about doing only things that make you feel good. In relationship, there are compromises. In relationships, sometimes I don't do what I want to do because my husband really wants to go do this. Sometimes I make sacrifices. A lot of times we make sacrifices as parents, not because we have to, but because we want our children to have opportunities that maybe we didn't. The self care movement can sometimes be selfish if we don't understand that sometimes you do have to compromise. And so when I talk about, are you the one who's adjusting so that somebody is not upset? Listen, if you have a really good friend that really needs you and you were planning to stay in the bed and eat your Pillsbury chocolate chip cookies and look at Grey's Anatomy or look at that new show called Doc, and you had your whole day planned and your friend called you crying, am I being too personal? And your friend called you crying and you had this whole moment planned, but your girl is in need. And so you decide, listen, she is crying and I have a choice. Because remember, this is about your choice being driven from a conscious place versus a fear based place. So you have a choice. In this moment, my friend really needs me. And I had this already planned. And what I want to really do is go get in the bed and relax. I am making a conscious choice to go be there for my friend, not a fear based choice that she is no longer going to consider me a friend if I don't do what she needs me to do in this moment. Do you see the difference? Listen, your spouse wants you to go to their parents' house for the weekend. You don't necessarily want to do it, but you know all the ways your spouse does things for you, and you all do this for each other. You make adjustments and you make compromise. You don't necessarily want to, but you're willing to do it, not from a fear based response, not because you know that he is going to be disappointed, but because this is something you want to do because you understand the value of compromise. Do you see how it's coming from a different place when it's a conscious choice and not one driven by fear? That's the freedom I want you to have. All right. So here's the deal. The issue is not about whether or not you are compromising. The issue is if it's a fear based compromise. When you adjust out of love, the adjustment feels like a choice. When you adjust out of fear, the adjustment leads to resentment. Go ahead, rewind the video so that you can see that again. All right. So, again, the work I do is rooted in the mantra live life, live intentionally, fully engaged. And living intentionally doesn't always mean choosing what you want, but it does mean choosing consciously. And sometimes the price you pay for the choice you make will leave someone disappointed, will leave somebody frustrated, might bring some tension. Someone might be upset with you. And you get to decide if you're willing to carry the knowledge that my daughter is disappointed, but I just wasn't able to do that today. And I know she will be okay with that disappointment. I don't do that often, but right now I'm having to do it. And I know she's going to be okay because I need this moment. You understand? I want you to make your choices from a conscious choice, from a place of love, not a place of fear. I know what I want. I just don't want to deal with how they feel about it. That will lead to your own internal resentment. You wonder why you're saying, why I always have to be the one? Why am I always the one showing up? Why am I always the one doing these things? It is because you have been making decisions from a place of fear instead of from a place of conscious choice. All right, Fred, I hope that really helped you. Can you go ahead and tell me what your takeaway was from this? And if this really resonated with you, send it to your girlfriends because you can get with them and y'all can watch this video and y'all can hold each other accountable to making conscious choice. And as you move forward, I want you to make sure that you ask yourself, why am I choosing this way? Is it out of fear or is it out of conscious choice? All right, friend, I'll see you next time.